Hello, good evening. Good evening to you, and welcome to today's broadcast. Today, I'll just record a short video. I'll be answering one question about single moms. So, I'm bringing a question that I picked for today's session. So a lady says, in 2019, I gave birth to twin girls, but the dad denied responsibility. 4 months into the pregnancy, I met a guy who came through for me, supported, and even proposed to me. We went on with dowry negotiations immediately after delivery, and he made everyone believe that those were his children. The problem is that we stay in different counties because of work. But last year, the mom stopped talking to me, yet we are living under the same roof. I asked the guy, and he said he didn't know what was happening. This year I was called to a different county for work and I left. The problem is that the guy called me to pick my clothes and those of my children. I don't know what could have gone wrong. I don't know what to tell the children and how to remove his name from their birth certificate. Advice. So, first of all, I have to make this disclaimer that I'm not a relationship advisor or a counselor, but the advice I give is based on knowledge that I have and some experience. And also, I give this advice not as a professional counselor, but to advise those who want or are looking for somebody to share with or somebody to give them some advice. About this question, I'll start by saying that marriage requires a lot of sacrifice and commitment. And distance is a marriage breaker. Distance is not something you want to experience, especially if you are a young couple. Distance is for mature couples, not for young couples. So uh, it's not easy for a young couple to build their marriage and they are staying separately. And that is one of the things that break marriages, because you also don't know what this guy was doing, where he was, whether he remarried or got someone. We also don't know details about how you guys were living when you are reconnecting and stuff like that. So, if you really want to get married and stay married, one of the things you need to do away with is distance. The second thing I want to say is that familiarity breeds contempt. You have said that you are staying with your in laws, and one thing about our African parents and siblings is that they will, most of the time, they will judge you as a stranger or somebody who came to intrude into their family. It's sad, but most African parents and relatives see the woman who gets married there as an intruder and they treat you as one. They don't see you as part of their family. So I don't know how you are living with a mother-in-law, how you are relating, but it's very advisable to not stay with your parents after you get married. That is why we are told two people shall leave their parents and they shall be one. You should not be staying with your mother-in-law or siblings-in-law, sister, brother. It will always bring issues because they will judge you as a stranger. Also, you have to understand that the mother-in-law has different expectations, may have different expectations from your husband, and that is one of the things that could bring conflict. Because if you go to a point where you are not talking, it means a lot of things were happening, and already she had rejected you. She didn't consider you her daughter or daughter in law. The other thing is that we need to look at unmet expectations. For instance, in your setup, it could be chores, could be children, it could be money, it could be maybe she wanted you to behave in a certain manner and you didn't meet her expectations. Most of the time, if your parents in law, especially mother in law, stops talking to you, it's because she has some unmet expectations. The other thing we cannot rule out is that your husband told them the truth about your children. Most people are free with their parents and their families, and they will tell them the truth. They will tell them, these children are not mine. I found this lady in these circumstances, and we decided to do this because 4 years down the line, if you can be sure that if these people knew that these were their grandchildren, they would have come to your home, paid dowry, and treated you better or differently. But they behaved this way probably because they knew those children were not their blood. Uh, there is also the issue of foundation. You said the first man left when you were a few months pregnant. He was a deadbeat dad, and that, looking at this trend, we can see that two people have left your life: the father of your children and your husband. This cannot be a coincidence, and many times in life we need to look at trends and patterns that tell a story. For instance, people leaving you, it's an issue to do with rejection and other things that could be in your foundation. I'm not putting a blame on you, but I would say if you really want to get married, it's something you need to look into. And lastly, it's the issue of children. Staying for 4 years without getting more children or children for this man could have triggered something. Maybe he could have felt that you are playing, or you didn't really want to give him children, and so he didn't really bother. I'll answer the question to do with birth certificates, and this is something that women need to know. Many times, a man may not be comfortable to to give their surname to somebody who is not their blood. It happens, but it's not something an everyday occurrence. So you did a good thing by allowing this man to give your children his surname, because if you didn't, maybe you would have thought you are playing or you are not serious with him and stuff like that. But you cannot beat yourself up, and right now you have a decision to make whether to remove his name from their birth certificate and they stay without a surname, or to leave that name there and then tell your children the truth later. I would advise to let your children use his surname because it makes a lot of difference. You may not need anything from this man since they are not related and already has rejected you. And he is not likely to change his mind given that you didn't give him a child. But I would just advise that you leave his name in their birth certificates. even though he's not the biological father. The other thing that may happen in the future, people do change their minds. And even though this guy left the children, he's likely to come to his mind to to become sober later and come looking for his children. But then let the children grow. If they are 4 years, those are young children. Don't need to start telling them, "Oh, this was not your father." Don't damage their young minds. Just find something to tell them and let them grow up. When they are grown, you can tell them the truth. So, advice for young people is that counsel is very important. People prosper where there is godly counsel. And this is why we need to surround ourselves with older people who can give us sober advice before making decisions such as even from the start, getting married to this guy, lying to his family, living, being in a long distance marriage, all these issues. If you had somebody to guide you, you would not have made, probably you would have made a different decision. Probably you'd still be in your marriage. Also, when you get married as a young person, it's a path you have never walked on before. So it really helps to get an older couple that can walk with you and give you mentorship and advice. That way, you are able to avoid making mistakes that could cost you and your children. So I am not blaming you. I'm not blaming this man. But right now, you have the option of just continuing building your life. Let his name stay in the birth certificates. And when you with your foundational issues, and if you're ready to get married again, get somebody later and give this man a break, because from this question, it seemed like he didn't take any initiative to defend you or to side with you or to solve issues that you are facing with his mother. So let it rest for now. Thank you.